My name is Rob Fauber, and I'm the president and CEO of Moody's. First of all, a big thank you to Planet for the invitation to speak and connect with you at this year's Planet Explore event. And I've had the pleasure of getting to know Will and his team over the past few months, and it's been great to learn about the world-class work that Planet does in the global satellite imagery and geospatial data space. So thank you. And let me first start by sharing a bit about Moody's and why we see so much opportunity ahead. Moody's is an integrated risk assessment firm that empowers organizations to make better decisions about a wider range of risks. And many of you know us, and we've been analyzing risks for more than a century. And our ratings, our data, analytical solutions, and insights, they help decision makers identify opportunities and manage risks of doing business with others. And like many of you, our customers face a wider range of risks than ever before. And those are risks that may not have been on their radar screen a few years ago. You think about cyber risks, climate change, financial crime, supply chain exposure. And these risks are increasingly becoming more complex, more impactful, and more interrelated. Environmental, social, and governance, or ESG matters, are becoming increasingly important to organizations and investors, as we all know. And we published a report in June which found that ESG risks were cited as a material credit consideration in 85% of our private sector debt ratings in 2020, 32% more than in 2019. So a real factor. Our customers are increasingly looking for a broader 360-degree view of risk. They want to know more about who they're doing business with, who they're investing in, who they're lending to, who they're connecting to, and what opportunities can be found within that risk. Now let's zoom in on one risk in particular, and that's climate change. It's the greatest risk multiplier that we face in the world today. The business and value chains across industries, across regions, and across companies are going to be affected by climate change. And the financial industry has a big role to play in enabling a shift towards a resilient and sustainable global economy. Moody's has a role in that too, providing market participants with the data and the analytics and the insights to help them make more sustainable decisions over both near and longer term time horizons. In a few weeks, world leaders and policymakers will meet in Scotland for the 26th UN Climate Change Conference. And as the window for action is closing, we've got to turn ambition into action during what is shaping up to be a crucial decade of delivery up to 2030. The theme of this year's Planet Explore event, Global Connection, goes to the heart of what needs to be done to meet these challenges and find the opportunities that are linked to climate change. Increasingly, industry and governments see the need to collaborate and use data to drive economic growth and promote better, more sustainable outcomes for people and nature. It's about working together across borders and across sectors, capturing global data and sharing knowledge and insights, using the power of global connection to drive action on climate change. And I'd like to focus the rest of my remarks on two areas. And the first is the challenges that we face in assessing climate risk. And the second is how we can navigate the path to net zero. It's true that smarter analytics bring new clarity to the significant financial and human costs of climate change. But at the same time, data gaps and inconsistencies still exist, and they're making it harder for organizations to know that they're making sustainable decisions with more meaningful outcomes. Take climate-related regulatory disclosures. Companies are disclosing more data around the impact on the environment, but there's a lack of availability and comparability and consistency and reliability in the underlying data and how companies report. Global efforts to harmonize climate-related regulatory frameworks would certainly be a positive. It would reduce the reporting burden and make data more comprehensible. And we see market demand coalescing around a need for greater standardization. And let's take the example of methane. As one of the most potent emissions, the case of methane shows how better data is essential for driving action. Until recently, this really wasn't a priority on the global stage. And now the IPCC devoted a full chapter to methane in its latest report. And that change came about due to better data. From Planet's satellites to our own risk models, governments and business leaders need the right information at the right time to address the issues at hand. At Moody's, we recognize this growing demand. we want to help our customers better identify, measure, and manage climate risk. Finding the signal in the noise, that will allow us to support more sustainable decision-making so that organizations can anticipate emerging risks and invest in what are going to be historic opportunities. And like many of you, we're expanding our ESG and climate capabilities. Last year, we formed our ESG Solutions Group to leverage and coordinate our ESG and climate capabilities more effectively across the entire company. We recently acquired RMS, a leading global provider of climate and natural disaster risk modeling and analytics. And RMS's team of world-class data scientists, modelers, and software engineers have created more than 400 risk models covering over 120 countries. They empower organizations to evaluate and manage global risk from natural and man-made catastrophes, including hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, climate change, and even cyber attacks and pandemics. We joined the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero, commonly known as GFANZ, and committed to align all of our relevant products and services with the goal of reaching net zero by 2050. We've also been working hard on developing analytical tools to help meet the demand for more consistency. We're rolling out new ESG scores to help with portfolio construction, benchmarking, and monitoring. And our aim is to build on our long experience in ESG to provide even greater clarity, consistency, and differentiation on risk exposure and translating that to financial impact. The demand for more data and more insight and the integration into financial and risk decision-making cuts across all sectors of the economy. For example, banks and insurance companies want climate data integrated into economic scenario modeling and stress testing to help meet regulatory and other requirements. They're also seeking more integration into how they assess investment and lending decisions. In commercial real estate, our customers are looking for on-demand scoring capabilities to screen properties around the world. And specifically, they want to integrate sustainability considerations into that screening. So we've developed a solution that provides forward-looking risk assessments that provide insights about properties' exposures to floods and hurricanes and wildfires and other climate hazards. And finally, I'd also like to mention how we're helping organizations address a critical emerging need, and that's how to develop and manage sustainable supply chains. We recently launched our ESG Score Predictor, which is a first-of-its-kind tool that generates real-time predicted ESG scores for millions of public and private small and medium-sized enterprises worldwide. And these scores are globally comparable and standardized based on company size, industry, and location, and are a valuable tool in addressing sustainable supply chains. Looking ahead, we see three areas where we believe concerted collaboration can effectively turn ambition into immediate action. First, bringing definition to transition risks and readiness on the path to net zero, so that capital providers can encourage those that are lagging behind and also highlight winners. Second, ensuring economy-wide accountability and transparency on those risks, so that both private and public entities can make more informed, sustainable decisions. And third, allocating more finance for resilience and adaptation, so that we don't leave behind the most vulnerable places and communities. As we do this, it's vital that we guard against greenwashing, that we understand the implications of these commitments for value chains and national economies, and that we establish how it will all affect financial performance, cost of capital, and credit risk. Crucially, we won't reach net zero unless the entire system plays its part. And that means having shared standards and accountability, whether we're looking at public or private companies, at issuers or investors, or at debt or equity markets. We need a holistic and transparent view so that we can accelerate climate action without stifling invention. And so we can stop risk transfer to more opaque markets with shorter term horizons for environmental impact and financial returns. Getting to net zero quickly will take a concerted and united effort. Global connection, our event theme today, is key. We need to share what we've learned about what works and collaborate in areas where we don't yet have all the answers. The technology, data, and tools that we're developing at Moody's, at Planet, and across your organizations will play a pivotal part in addressing this global emergency. There's no way around it. We have to step up our efforts to limit global warming. And here's hoping that COP26 We'll build on the breakthroughs from the 2015 Paris Agreement and keep ratcheting up global efforts to address climate change. What we do together from today and over the next decade will be critical to the well-being and prosperity of future